Hi everybody, how you doing? Thanks for stopping by at the Five Forks. My name is Barry, and this is my second video to talk about my fight with prostate cancer. Today I just wanted to piggyback off of where we were after my first video, let you know a little bit about how we got to this place and where we're at right now. Um, I didn't have any symptoms of prostate cancer whatsoever. I mean, and you can do a Google search and you'll see that there are many. There's a lot of different signs that you might have prostate cancer. I had none of those. What happened was is I went for a routine visit with my primary care physician. We did blood work, and as he was ordering the blood work, he realized that we hadn't tested the PSA levels since 2017, and this was December of 2020. So I said, yes, by all means, please do, and so he did, and the blood work came back. The hospital system that I'm affiliated with has what they call My Chart. You might have something similar where you're at, but you have all your records there. You have all your vitals, your test results, your visits and appointments. Everything is centrally located in that one spot. All your physicians and all the medication you're taking, and everything is in one spot. So I got an alert. Usually get an email that says you have a new message or new test results back on My Chart. So I went into My Chart, and the test results were back, and I went through and I read all of them because I do have high cholesterol. I take cholesterol medicine. I have peripheral artery disease, so I take blood thinners. And just want to monitor all those things, make sure everything's okay. And then I went to the message section, and the message section said, contact your primary care physician because you have elevated PSA. So I went back to the test results for the PSA, and I looked, and it was at, I don't know, 5.5, something like that. And it didn't ring a bell with me what might be going on, and then I started looking at the trends, and I saw that when we had tested it last in 2017, it was a 2, and so in 3 years or 4, but no, in 4 years it had really gone up to the 5. So I started doing some research at that point to see what this really meant, and most of it didn't sound too good. So as I go back to my primary care physician, he says, just look, there's a lot of things that can elevate this. You know, you could have some infection, so on and so forth. He said, before we do anything else, I want to just do another blood test, and let's see if it comes back the same. Well, when I did that, when it dropped to like 4.8, and he says, well, that's all well and good, but it hasn't come down enough. That's just too high of a percentage increase over a short period of time. So he sent me to a urologist, and I'm very happy with him. He's a great guy, and he went through some of the same stuff my primary care physician had talked to me about, and said, look, let's not do anything drastic. Prostate cancer is very slow growing, and if that happens to be the case, we've caught it early because my PSA is not that high. And so he said, I want to do more blood work, but he said, I don't want to piggyback right off of the most recent one. He said, let's give it a couple of months. And so we waited until April. I went back, and again, it was staying pretty level at that 4.8 plus. And he said, that's concerning, even though he did the digital rectal exam, which is the finger up the butt. It's not pleasant, but it's a way for them to see if they feel any abnormalities or if the prostate's growing at a rapid rate or anything like that. He didn't feel anything like that. So, and he says, you have no symptoms. So he said, I think we're fine, but let's do an MRI just to be sure. So I did. And then the results from the MRI came back and it hit my chart. Well, I'm going through and I'm reading the results, and um, basically it wasn't good, or it didn't sound good. Um, there were suspicious lesions, and that could be or could not be cancerous, you know. So go back to the urologist. We discuss everything, and he says, you know what? He said, we can do a biopsy, and I think that's the thing we need to do right away. And what he did was a transural, which is an ultrasound. They insert an ultrasound probe or tube, and they can marry up then the MRI image so that they know that they're taking a biopsy of the exact point that they need to take it. And he says, I'm going to do that in the spot that looks suspicious for sure. I'm going to take a couple of samples there. And he said, I'm going to take some random samples from other areas. And he did. And everything, that was fine. For that type of biopsy, you are sedated. And so, of course, my wife went with me, and she drove me home, and everything was fine. I felt okay. And so then the results of that came back. And as I'm sitting, I actually, I got an alert or an email on my chart while I was at work. And so I was anxious, of course, to see what it said. But I waited until I took a lunch break, and I went and I sat and I had my sandwich and started reading. And they took 12 cores, and needle biopsies. They actually insert a needle and it's hollow, and they pull out a core, and all 12 cores had cancer cells. Some of them, the entire core, 100% of that core was cancer. Others were 80%, so on and so forth. That was like somebody took all the air out of my body. It was like I couldn't believe what I was reading, and scary. You don't know. You really don't know what's going to happen now, from this point forward. And so, I had an appointment scheduled to discuss this with my urologist, and it was a week away, So this entire time that I had between the time that I got the results back in my chart to the time that I was to see the doctor, I was just I poured over every possible thing that I could read about prostate cancer, and what all of this stuff meant that was in the report. Some of it was very confusing, but then as I kept sifting through it and kept reading, and there's tons and tons of stuff out there on the internet, videos from doctors and people who are experts in prostate cancer that you can research, and so then I started to decipher what the heck was going on, and finally got back to talk to my urologist, and of course, he said, I'm sure you've read, the results, and he said, this is what it all means, and this is where we're going from here. So, in another video, I'll talk about, from that point forward, what happened, what did we do, where did we go, how did we get here today, how did I decide on which treatment to go with, and so on and so forth. That's for another video because it's so complicated. But today, the reason I say all that I did today is that it's very important that whether you have any symptoms or not, you're doing regular blood screening, and if your doctor's not doing a PSA test, ask for it. You need to make sure you know what's going on, because in my case, it went from 2 to 5.5 in just a very short period of time. That's a rapid increase. Unlike what most men go through as they get older. You know, they want guys even in their late 60s, 70s to still be in a range of 4. And of course, I'm way outside of that range already. So make sure that you're getting your blood work done and so on and so forth. And again, there's lots of information on YouTube. I mean, some of it you can take it with a grain of salt. There's a couple of guys that I really enjoy watching because they tell you exactly how it is and what they've been going through. One of them is named Mark Graves, and I'll post a link to his YouTube channel below. But Mark has been going through this for a long time, but he always keeps a positive attitude. He is always finds humor in everything that's going on. He's got a group that meets on Zoom once a week, and they all get together and cut up and talk about what they're going through. And it's he's a pretty good guy, and he's going through a tough time. And so I will put his link down below. In the meantime, if you're so inclined, I would appreciate a prayer or two, and I want you to continue to follow what I'm going through. I'll try to post regular videos when I have time, and just give updates. And subscribe, like, and hit that little bell, and that way you'll know when I post another video. And hopefully that I can take some of the mystery out of this for others who are going through the same situation, because I have done tons and tons of research to try to put it all together and figure out what the best course of action for me was. So in the meantime, thank you. Thank you for stopping by at the Five Forks, and we will see you next time.